For all its inconveniences, Lang was satisfied with life in the high-rise, ready to move forward and explore life. How exactly? He had not yet decided.
I'm so sorry.
I'll survive.
It's a book that I'd loved since I was a kid, so I'd read it when I was a teenager, and but I hadn't really thought about it much for the years in between. And after Field in England, Amy jumped, the screenwriter and editor, co-editor with me on the films. We were looking around and looking at books to license, just seeing, because we could at that point. We've never been able to do that before. And I was sitting at home and looked at the books at home, and then I saw High Rise and went, God, why has that been made into a film? It's like one of the big kind of British sci-fi movies and big British sci-fi books, and Ballard is kind of a towering figure, and yet there's only been a couple of movies. You know, there's only been Crash and Empire of the Sun. It's a bit odd. So what generally happens now is like the big Hollywood studios just buy everything. You know, they don't buy individual properties anymore. They buy like whole authors' works or even whole genres of stuff. They just buy it by the yard. I thought there's no way that this is gonna, you know, it'll be sitting somewhere in a vault in Burbank or something. But it turned out that Jeremy Thomas had it, who's the producer of Crash and producer of Naked Lunch, and it, you know, and it was available, you know, and it could be made, and he was actively been trying to make it for quite a long time. So that was kind of the beginning of the journey.
I thought you were empty.
I just moved in.
You're an excellent specimen. Why don't you come up later and have a drink?
Cast-wise, I'd always wanted to have Tom Hiddleston to play Lang, which has been really difficult with these interviews again and again, having to say it, because it always sounds like a total lie, doesn't it? You know, the person that you cast is the one that you always wanted. You know, it's like it's classic PR 101, but it is true. You know, also, you know, people like Jeremy Irons and James Purefoy as well. You know, I've been big fans of them for a long time. And then Luke Evans came along through a casting thing, and someone mentioned his name, and I kind of didn't know him that well, but I'd seen him in the Hobbit movies and didn't know who he was, but really when he'd appeared, I was going, who's that guy? He's great, you know.
You don't know how things work around here, do you?
I'm a fast learner.
Sienna Miller is someone I've really liked since Factory Girl and The Girl, and her, you know, I don't know if this is a small genre of girl-based movie she's in, but how she chooses them. But yeah, Factory Girl I thought was fantastic, and that was the moment I had where she'd gone from being, in my mind, like Sienna Miller, the kind of newspaper person, to Sienna Miller, the amazing actress, you know. And I just went, oh, I remember seeing the whole film and seeing the credits and going, oh, that's who she is. Oh God, she's great. So yeah, so that was really exciting to be working with her. I'd heard through agents that Elizabeth Moss was interested in working and maybe doing some stuff for us for High Rise, and I loved her in Mad Men, and I'd seen her in Top of the Lake, so I kind of knew that she could, you know, that she had that chameleon ability to kind of jump into different accents and stuff. I had a chat with her on the Skypes, and she was just really lovely, you know. So you know, it wasn't hard.
You built all this.
I put all my energies into this town, but I am the architect of my own accident.
There was someone on Twitter, and they'd done a video and saying, "Oh, it's all really interesting, but it's not an entertaining film." And you're like, well, what is that definition of entertaining? If it's something that's like kind of really easy and just washes over you, then that's a certain type of cinema, and that's, you know, I watch those movies as well. But there's other kinds of cinema that which is maybe a bit more gritty and a bit harder and makes you think. But it doesn't mean it's not entertaining. I think that's really entertaining. You know, I think the kind of, as usual with language, all these meanings are in flux all the time. You know, and yeah, and I think that the kind of the idea of what entertainment is now a kind of completely smooth, like a whipped yogurt that just slips down your throat and you don't even notice that you've drunk it, you know. Whereas in the 70s, that would have been, you know, the idea of an entertaining film was something quite gritty and hard and tough, you know, and made you think, and you came out of the cinema and kind of slightly afraid.
What are you doing in there?
Teething problems. Building's still settling.
I rewatched Towering Inferno before we made High Rise, and Shivers is an interesting one, because Shivers was made the same well, it was released the same year as the book came out, as High Res came out, and I always thought that when I was a kid, I was kind of imagined that Shivers was always like a riff on the book, but the timelines are wrong. You know, so they must have happened at, I guess, at the same time. So it's odd. I mean, I always think of kind of Ballard and Cronenberg as like quite separate in their timeline, but they're contemporary. So it's an interesting one. But yeah, when I rewatch Shivers, there's a lot of it's really like the book. It's really close to the book. You know.
How's the high life?
Prone to fits of mania, narcissism, and power failure.
What I'd like people to take from the film is that they've gone out and had an entertaining evening and seen, they've experienced, love and dancing and seen sex and violence and had fun. But I'm not gonna kind of say what the overall kind of meaning of the film is, because you have to go and see it and kind of draw your own conclusions. I don't want to get into that kind of the world of the, when you go to a gallery and there's a little thing by the side and you just look at the picture and then quickly read the thing, go, right, that's that one done, I'm moving on. I'm not going to give it all away, but I think it has I think it has all the elements in it that you should have in a movie for an adult to sit down and watch.
The ones who are the real danger are the self-contained types like you.
Perhaps you're right.
Whether or not the buildings exist or not, I'm not going to comment on, because I'd like to leave you with that thought that they were all real.
Doesn't it seem odd that a man can fall from the 39th floor and not one police car turn up? Where's the sirens?
What have you got there?
A kaleidoscope.
What can you see through that thing?
The future.